former Black Panther founder, he once said, killing Whitey is not an ideology. Killing Whitey is not an ideology. Now, what he meant is something I want to share with people today, because when I look at many of these YouTube scholars, you find that that's basically what they're talking about. You know, the white man is evil by nature. The white man is a devil by nature. You know, to take up arms against the white man. And now, understandably, in the United States, white people are a totally different group. Totally different group. There's never been a more sadistic group of people in the world than many of the whites who still reside in the United States. History says that. History shows that being played out clearly. But when we talk about an ideology that somehow will push black people forward is let's just rise up against all white people, this is something that for first 20 years of my personal life served me well. This is something that is very popular with, in particularly, young blacks, and it's being sold to young blacks as something that can really work, and something that is really viable, and something that is really profound. The fact of the matter is that killing Whitey is not an ideology. It is not an outlook, an approach to raising the influence and raising the power of black folks. It is not an approach that actually is profound, or one that is philosophically even correct. But there is something that is philosophically correct. There is something, and that is that when we judge people, we should judge them as though we are at war. We should judge people as though we are at war. Okay? And this is how I do it. Because when you judge people as though you're at war, and you see it through that kind of lens, then you understand that while in America it is black versus white for the most part, it is. People still want to deny it, but it is. The fact of the matter is, though, that if you look at revolution and you look at major change, much of it was ideological, right? Much of it was based on ideology. So if you look at the French Revolution, it's based on ideology. Russian Revolution, ideology. Revolutions in Africa, many of them, ideology. China, ideology. Vietnam, ideology. Because many of the people you were going up against actually look just like you. It's a case of sometimes the North against the South, right? East against the West. Many times that's what it was. Now, if you look at how to judge the comments of Kanye West, if you look at how to judge the comments of a Charles Barkley or a Micheal Jordan or a Denzel Washington, if you understand war and how war plays out, then you will see those particular people as not being for you, and those particular people as not being ideologically from you. If you were at war, if black people were at war, right? And it just so happened that the group of people they were at war against were racist whites. Now, who do you think they would send into your camp? Who do you think they would send into your camp? A white man, or would they send a black man to infiltrate your camp, right? To sabotage your plans, right? To set you up. Who would they send in? They would send in a man who looks just like you, or a female who looks just like you. Now, if you look at Kanye West and think about what Kanye West said, that Trump is his boy, right? If you understand that, forget what he said about George Bush. No, it was easier for him. It made more sense for him to say what he said. In other words, it made more sense with George Bush, whether you like it or not. George Bush having Condoleezza Rice, who you may call an Uncle Tom or a Sambo, whatever. We're not getting into that. Colin Powell, who you might call an Uncle Tom or Sambo, we're not getting into that. The fact of the matter is that George Bush had those people close to him, right? close to him. And they certainly were higher up than Ben Carson, right? But George Bush had those people. Now, it made less sense, made sense, but less sense, for Kanye West to say George Bush doesn't like black people than it made for any self-respecting man to say Donald Trump was his boy. Now, in a time of war, who do you think will sell you out? Kanye West, right? And the people who agree with him, like Neo and Anthony Anderson, right? Like Micheal Jordan and Charles Barkley and Denzel Washington. Who do you think will sell you out first? A Kanye West, right? Who ideologically likes Donald Trump, right? Says that's his boy. Or Eminem, who as a white man gained virtually nothing. And I'm sure got many death threats by him lambasting Donald Trump, right? Who do you think would serve you better in times of war? A Micheal Jordan, a Charles Barkley, right? A Denzel Washington, right? Who go out of their way to not show any support for black people, okay? Who do you think will serve you better at war? Them or Tim Weiss? Tim Weiss, whose emails every day, from what I understand, are full of death threats coming from white people. If you were actually thinking ideologically, and if you're really thinking philosophically, and if you have a psychological sound way of judging who is for you and who is not for you, then you do not go on color. You do not say, okay, this man is a black man, or this man looks like a black man, therefore he is for me. You do not go on that. Revolutions don't work like that. They don't work like that. They work according to ideology. Now, are most of the white people in America racist? I think most are. 63% of American population, okay, happen to be white. I personally think that maybe 10% of white people are so progressive that they see black people as being equal to them in potential. I think maybe like only about 10%, and that's being generous. I think maybe only 10% of white people, and certainly not all liberals even feel that way. I think that 10% maybe of white people see black people as being their equal if given the same opportunities, right? About 10%. The rest of them are overtly or covertly, in my opinion, right, racist. So that is the reality of America. But we still have to understand, though, that no matter how it gets across, or how much, mileage Kill Whitey gets, that because of the 63% population of white people in America, if white people in some form of fashion, if white people in some small number do not agree that black people should be treated better or black people should have certain opportunities, if they do not agree on that, by sheer facts, by sheer virtue of the small population of black people and the large population of white people, by those sheer numbers, black people are not going to get very far, no matter how much they talk. So a small number of white people have got to become allies of black people. They have to. That's a fact. That being said, and that being understood, again, no matter how much mileage Kill Whitey and the white man is a devil gets, the fact of the matter is that if you actually understand revolution and you understand war and you study war, whether it's ideological war or whether it's physical war or whether it's both, you understand that you cannot get very far if your only allies are going to be judged based on the skin color. Because if you do that, then you will end up befriending people like Kanye West and ostracizing people like Tim Weiss and people like Eminem. So if you want to know how to judge people, you judge them based on whether or not you are at war within that kind of analogical, way of looking at things. If I was at war, how would this individual serve? How would this individual relate to me? What would be this individual's orientation to me? And if you understand that properly, then you understand people like Kanye West would be the first to go. People like Charles Barkley and Micheal Jordan would be the first that you would have to get rid of. People like Denzel Washington would be the first that you would have to get rid of. And people like Tim Weiss and Eminem are some of the first that you would have to take on as your allies and protect, preferably, from the enemy. So if you were going to judge people, the best way to judge, and this is mainly set out for black folks, I'm talking to black folks. If you're going to be fair in your judgment, if you're going to be philosophically and psychologically sound in your judgment, then you cannot judge people based on, well, he's black, so he's my brother. She's black, so she's my sister. No, it can't work like that. There's no way can that work like that. Okay? The fact of the matter is that we have to understand that Stacey Dash is an enemy to black people. Is an enemy to black people. And if you were at war, if black people were at war with racist whites, Stacey Dash would cause the slaughter of many black troops, without a doubt. As would Kanye West, as would Denzel Washington, as would Micheal Jordan, as would Charles Barkley, and believe it or not, as would quite likely a Floyd Mayweather Jr. The black rich, as I've said before, are more alienated from the average black person than any other rich group is alienated from their larger body of people. And the only way for black people to get ahead, the only way for black people to hang on to their allies and separate themselves and keep a close tab and not be harmed by their adversaries is for them to look ideologically at who would be for them if they were in war or at war against other forces that were out to get them. And the only way to really judge and judge fairly in any way that will help black people to progress is to look at what people of any ethnic group are actually doing, is actually saying to help them and on their behalf. When you do that, then for sure Kanye West should be pushed aside and Eminem embraced. See you next video.